Human Rights Louis Aber.
And the second new headlines for today is a second meeting of Inter-Ministerial Committee to make a draft law on local administration management was held in the presence of Deputy Prime Minister His Excellency Salkane.
Prime Minister Sumai Hun Sein met with visiting UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Louis Aber in Phnom Penh on May 18th. In the meeting, Ms. Louise Aber said this was her first visit to Cambodia, during which she indicated that she did an assessment on the human rights and democracy process in the country. A lot of progress in human rights and democracy process, of course, was not started in conformity with what was really developed in the country, she said. Acknowledging the human rights and democracy in Cambodia, Ms. Louise Aber said her visit was not to act as an expert here, but to support the government's activity in a move that Cambodia moved toward democracy and respect of human rights. In reply, Prime Minister Sumai Hun Sein said, as a matter of fact, what the Cambodian royal government needed was to cooperate with UN human rights for the national development in Cambodia. The Premier also dismissed the recent media report that the government was considering to close the UN Human Rights Office here. The royal government wants to have a good cooperation with human rights organizations for the country's development. Whether or not to close the office of the UN Human Rights is depending on the UN itself, he said. What the government wants is for the human rights group to tell the truth about the work the government is doing, to show the facts and avoid just viewing Cambodia as hell, he said. UN High Commissioner for Human Rights Louis Aber arrived in Cambodia on May 15 to pay a week-long visit to the country.
The second meeting of Inter-Ministerial Committee was held in Phnom Penh on May 18th to make a draft law on local administration management in the presence of Deputy Prime Minister His Excellency Salkane, Minister of Interior. The meeting aims to review a study report in which decentralization and deconcentration programs were sponsored financially by donor countries. The studies were initiated by Cambodia and a working process was implemented by the donor countries. Speaking at the meeting, His Excellency Salkane highlighted the government's rectangular strategy for decentralization and deconcentration reform, the financial support of the donor countries, and the promotion of a draft law on local administration management. His Excellency said a draft law would be completed in 2006 and then submitted to the National Assembly to approval via to the Council of Ministers. It is noted that the royal government adopted a strategy of decentralization and deconcentration reform in July 2005. Since then, a lot of progress has been made in implementing a process of decentralization and deconcentration reform in the country.
His Excellency Sok An, Deputy Prime Minister, Cabinet Minister, met with Mr. David Sohafer, lecturer at the University of Law in Chicago, and Mr. Jim Goldstone, Executive Director of Open Society Justice Initiative, on May 18 at the Council of Ministers. His Excellency Sok An had a working group of the royal government of Cambodia for the Khmer Tribunal, cited the last developments of the Khmer Tribunal, saying that national and international judges and prosecutors were nominated by the Supreme Council of the Magistracy and signed by His Majesty King Norodom Sihamoni on May 7th. Mr. David Sohafer and Mr. Jim Goldstone appreciated the achievements gained by the working group of the royal government for the extraordinary chambers and hope that, under the leadership of His Excellency Sok An, the trial would be successfully implemented.
A meeting on the management of avian influenza infection and the prevention of the spread of fatal virus in Cambodia was held in Phnom Penh on May 18th. The meeting was presided over by Senior Minister His Excellency Nyamwada, First Vice Chairman of the National Committee for Disasters Management, was attended by participants from the Ministries of Health and the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, and representatives of the United Nations, World Bank, and NGOs. In his remark at the meeting, His Excellency Nyamwada highly appreciated a mission group of the United Nations and World Bank for its assessment on avian influenza and the spread of fatal virus in Cambodia, as well as for its assistance given to Cambodia's national plan and the prevention of the spread of the bird flu virus. His Excellency Nyamada said 6 people have died of bird flu in Cambodia since early 2005, including 3 children, and the pandemic disease impacted the socio-economy in the country. Recently, Prime Minister Sun Yat-sen asked all the government sectors, especially the Ministries of Health and Agriculture, to mobilize for a public education campaign in the country to fight against the virus. He also called more doctors and medical workers to go to the countryside to help the poor and the villagers. Senior Minister His Excellency Nyamada hoped that the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, in cooperation with the relevant partners, will take preventive measures as the recommendations was given by Cambodian Premier. It is noted that World Bank has decided to provide $11 million in grant to Mission Group for managing the avian influenza infection and preventing the spread of fatal virus in Cambodia.
His Excellency Khieu Kanyarit, Minister of Information, held a meeting with delegates from National Assembly's Commission of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, Information and Media, led by Chairman His Excellency Sonchai on May 18th. The performance and information structure related to the dissemination of our General Directorate under the umbrella of the Ministry of Information and the running media, including newspaper and magazine in the country, were mainly discussed during the meeting. His Excellency Khieu Kanyarit said that the Ministry play a role as a coordinator for the local and overseas journalists related to the field, adding that the Ministry was currently controlling 14 information networks, of which over 300 institutions were operating in the nation. In the names of Commission of Foreign Affairs, International Cooperation, Information and Media of the body, His Excellency Sonchai said he would try his best to talk with the Ministry of Economics and Finance to provide the Ministry with extra budgets as possible in contribution to effectively promote the operation of the Ministry, and also hope that good relations between the Commission and the Ministry would be more deepened for the benefit of the two institutions as well as the nation.
A news conference aimed to reveal the support and recognition of the success of Cambodian National Volleyball League Disable Organization, obtaining international cup for its great achievements in developing the disability sports, was held in the presence of His Excellency Atsum Hein, Minister of Social Affairs, Veteran and Youth Rehabilitation, with the participation of German Ambassador His Excellency Fios Fischer, Canadian Ambassador Her Excellency Donny Capcheti, representatives of Australian Embassy and United Nations coordinators on May the 18th at the Office of United Nations Development Program. His Excellency Atsum Hein said that the results came from the support from development partner, organization, and donors in order to fruitfully promote the task program implementation of the Royal Government and the Ministry of Social Affairs in the field of disability and rehabilitation. Moreover, His Excellency Atsum Hein also thanks German, Australian, and Canadian government and donors for their support and assistances to the country for the benefit of the development in all areas.
This is the end of the news. And TVK Today will be back on Mondays next week again at the same time. Thank you very much for joining with us and have a nice day on weekends. And right now, me Sapawi.
And I'm Vanna.
Goodbye.